Hey guys, Comic Crack back here again. I just shot this video once and watched it, and I'm going to try to streamline my thoughts a little more so there's not as much ranting and raving. Wanted to talk a bit about some books that I had read, both new and old, this week. 3 that I picked up this week and a couple from the collection. So as you know, I am reading through the Bendis Malieve Daredevil. I just finished Volume 2. My comic shop had Volume 3 in as well. So I put it aside for myself for the next time I'm in, hopefully this week. If not, next week. So I can finish off this pretty incredible run. Won't talk too much about it other than still loving it. I did have a couple of issues with it that are fairly minor in the grand scheme of things because there's so much good about this. When he does declare himself the kingpin of Hell's Kitchen, a few of the other heroes approach him and say that he's out of control and things, and I wasn't quite seeing it, I guess. Maybe that's partially due to I was enjoying what they were doing with the character and I didn't think it was too out of control. Out of control in this kind of world seems to be when they step over the line and start killing criminals and things. I didn't see any of that. He did beat the hell out of a lot of people and definitely got really intense and took over his neighborhood as far as, this is it, I've had enough. I've had enough of all this. I am now in charge. This is now my neighborhood. I am now the kingpin, and if anybody does anything in my town or in my part of the city that I'm not comfortable with, you have to answer to me. Very, very cool idea. And it just kind of bothered me as far as it seemed like they were trying to make something out of. If maybe his reactions would have been a little more extreme, I could see them approaching him. It just seemed a little bit weak, almost that they had to do that to kind of keep the story moving along. But like I said, minor issue. And then at the end, when they do reintroduce it, he goes and apologizes to try to get their help again, and they start talking that maybe he had a nervous breakdown. I can see some of that, but again, it just seemed to wrap up really quick as far as like, I apologize, can you help me? Okay, we're good now. Excellent, excellent, here we go. So yeah, but again, minor issues. Again, the artwork from Malieve is hit and miss. I happen to flip to a great example of a miss. I'm not crazy about the what looks to me like photographs that are then drawn over. Yeah, it didn't work for me in Ex Machina, and it doesn't work for me here. And especially knowing that he is a pretty amazing artist. You know, even there it looks like it's maybe a little bit of that, but there's something more to this image that works for me. And same with these in here. I just like it. It feels like it has a little more character and a little more emotion. But there is an awful lot of it. And obviously it's not bothering me so much because I am still reading it and I'm still really liking it. Do I wish there was a different artist? I don't think so. His style really, really works. And it works really well. The only times it doesn't is all of a sudden, I mean, they get these guest artists in, so you get this very cartoony sort of feel, and I understand why they do it. I just don't think it works as well. The only time that it did, see if I can find it, I'm starting to rant again, so it'll be, try to cut it a little short. The only time it did work for me exceptionally well was in his final battle with the Kingpin, where they have a different artist doing different pages. Anyway, oh, here we go. I was just going to say I'm not finding it, but lo and behold, here it is. So everybody gets to do a little guest panel, and I really like that because it seems that there's more of an idea behind it as far as We've fought so many times. This is our final fight. I can't believe how many times this has happened, so let's show in the past when it has happened, and what better way to show the past than to let's bring back some of the artists who kind of made their name on Daredevil. So that really worked. So again, overall, highly recommended. I'm really turning into a pretty big Daredevil fan. I have lists going on my phone as far as what back issues I need, and yeah. So that's that one. Pick it up if you haven't read this already. Definitely worth it. And then there was a sale at another one, so I picked up the Miller and Sienkiewicz Electra Assassin, which collects Electra Assassin 1 to 8. Pretty sure that's the entire series. I haven't read this one yet. I just picked this up. Really curious to read it though. What little I know about Electra and her relationship with Daredevil, this one should be quite good. So nothing much to say about that. Elephant Men number 33, and on the flip side is something called Devil, which I haven't read yet. Leafed through it. Maybe I'll read it. It looks appealing enough, but that's not what I want to talk about. I want to talk about Elephant Man because it's Shaky Kane, the man behind Bulletproof Coffin, which I'm a huge fan of, and I know a couple of people on the YouTubes are fans of too. Boom, look at that. So nice. Anyway, I've never read Elephant Men. I've seen it on the shelf all the time. They really seem to get in with a bunch of different characters and different artists, and maybe different, I'm assuming different writers too, to kind of tell the story. It just was never something that really appealed to me. I remember when it first came out, leafing through some issues in the comic store kind of month after month, because I'd heard good things about it, but it just didn't register with me, so I never picked it up. So coming into 33, I don't feel lost. It gives you a nice little what happened last time type of thing. There's a bunch of dead elephant men killed for their ivory, and he's investigating what's going on. But this almost seems to be a separate story. So it doesn't seem to be focused too much on our main characters. They focus more on a Dr. Bone, and his wife Ivy Regina. Dr. Bone does like plastic surgery. His wife at one point was coming for some surgery. They got married. She got more surgery. He found it appealing, being able to kind of shape and form her in whatever way he decided to. Her growing bust size was putting strain on her hips, and apparently ivory from the tusks of elephant men, specifically elephant men, is the best for her hip replacement surgery, I guess the way to put it. So he kind of went and got this at any means necessary. And I'll kind of leave it at that. I won't leaf through too much more of it. Well, I'll show you one more page. There you go. So a good story. Good enough. I don't know if it's good enough that I'll pick up more issues, but I enjoyed it. And Mr. Kane's artwork is beautiful and grotesque and horrific and cartoony and completely ridiculous, and I absolutely love it. So there you have it. Moving right along. The Saucer of Zilk by Brennan McCarthy and Al Ewing. Story, Brennan McCarthy and Al Ewing. Script, Al Ewing. Art, Brennan McCarthy. IDW 2000 AD. This is issue number 1. His name was familiar to me. His artwork was familiar to me. I couldn't place it till I started looking on Comics Vine and saw that, of course, he's the guy from Shade, the Changing Man from the 90s, and there's a sampling of one of those that I pulled from my collection. There's issue 1. And then it all kind of sunk into place. I know he also did Judge Dredd and things, but I was never a fan of that series, so I didn't make that association. But one thing I do remember talking about Vertigo who's been on my mind lately, that after seeing Oddfellows Thoughts, Travis's video there about canceling, just thinking of Vertigo and then doing my little blog, video log there about Ted McKeever and Vertigo. Around that same time that all that was coming out, there was a miniseries, Rogan Josh, which I believe was Brendan McCarthy as well, which now is on my list of things to look through. What's this about? Sci-fi, surreal, bizarre, average guy gets transported where he is some sort of, it's not quite clear if he's like royalty, if he's just kind of rich, if he's just privileged, called a Saucer, and apparently there's many Saucers in this world, and going to rescue this young girl, Tutu, who has been taken to a world where I will show you the pictures of right now. That's kind of depressing and dark and awful, and why would anybody want to be there? Even the narrator is saying, why would you want to look at this? Let's go back to our candy-colored Saucer's world and see what he's doing. Oh, look at this. He's going to buy some pants where you have to go and actually hunt and capture them. So that gives you a little bit of sense. I haven't quite made heads or tails of it yet myself, which is why it's a very vague sort of description. It is only issue 1. It sounds like, I mean, by the end of it, it looks like it is going to get somewhere. But again, just look at those colors there. Just beautiful. I hope it goes somewhere. I have a feeling it will. And I will focus on this one here. Crack. There you go. I'm going to keep trying it. The art is what appealed to me, and the art is what will keep me coming back, and we'll see if the story kind of falls into place. But pretty good read for a first issue. I'm glad I spent the $3.99. And that kind of led me back to finding out on Comic Vine there was another mini-series that he did that I had in my collection that I pulled out this afternoon to kind of read. From Vanguard Illustrated number 1, 2, and 3, PC, the new era in comics. I was reading inside, this is from 1983, and in the beginning of the third issue here, the third feature in Vanguard Illustrated is another introduction to hugely talented newcomer Brendan McCarthy. He passed through San Diego and knocked everyone out of their seats with his portfolio. We made the deadline for Vanguard Illustrated number 1 with Freak Wave is the story. So they just talk about him a little bit. So some early work overseas for him. I'm assuming his career started much before this with 2000 AD stuff. I'm not exactly sure on the timeline for that sort of thing. In these first 2 issues, the script in these first 2 issues, the coloring is done by a gentleman named Joe Chiodo, I believe, does the coloring for the entire thing. The third issue, they say in the introduction, they broke the bank, and they wanted to give Mr. McCarthy a little more leeway as far as really kind of translating his psychedelic color schemes. So they put some more money together to get some better color separation and let him go to town. So you'll see the difference. I'll leave this one open. The story is kind of a post-apocalyptic type tale. Water-based world. Pirates and mutated humans. And a little bit of a revenge story. Oh, and a crack. There you go. Huh? Yeah? Hey, you like that? And again, the artwork is pretty great. The story is okay. Read the 3 parts. It didn't really go too many places that blew my mind or anything, but when you have pictures like this to look at, it's hard to worry too much about the story. As far as that's my own personal taste, I can let a lot of things go if I'm really enjoying the art and the pacing and stuff like that, and the use of colors and everything. So I'll show you this picture too. Introduce a new character at the end. I'm showing you this one because it'll be good to see in the third issue. So I won't show you number 2, but it continues in Vanguard Illustrated number 2 and then ties all up in Vanguard Illustrated number 3. And right away you can see this is what I was talking about with the color. They let him go to town. Spent a little more money. You can see there's a nice kind of softness to it, but the amount of colors that are used are pretty great. And that date said 1983 in there. So there's a sampling of those pages. Let me get to the one that kind of stood out. So here we go. Here we have Mickey Dread as he was drawn and colored in issue number 1. And then Mickey Dread as he's drawn and colored in issue 3. And you can see a huge difference. They just came through with it. It looks amazing. Even though it is a little bit of a ridiculous character, but based on the stuff that I've seen from his covers in Shade the Changing Man, and there might be that aspect to him for sure. And obviously in Saucer of Zilk, it sounds ridiculous now saying it out loud. Of course there's that element to him, but he's a pretty fine artist though. The eyes peeking out of the water and the color scheme there is pretty fantastic. So yeah, nice to discover, kind of rediscover an artist that I hadn't even thought about for a long time. I hadn't even thought about since the 90s, since the early 90s. So we'll leave you at this. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this kind of... I might try to do this a little more often, this style of reviewing, have things laid out and try to coordinate my thoughts a little more and show you some samplings from books. We'll see how it goes. Let me know what you think. Thanks as always for watching. Read lots of comics, make comments, and we'll talk to you soon.